What's going on, guys? The Champ Strider here, and I have some Chivalry 2 news for you guys today. And I always like having something to talk about when it comes to Chivalry or Torn Banner Studios, because I get the opportunity to make you guys a video. And look, we haven't gotten too much to talk about lately, because Shiv is not going to get any new updates, but we got something to talk about today. And normally, I'm so excited to be on here for you guys, but it's a little bit of bad news today. So remember, don't shoot the messenger. And if you enjoy the video, be sure to subscribe, because this is the place to be for medieval gaming. Now, if you're going to tell a story, I feel like you have to go all the way back to the beginning. Chivalry 2 released from a very small indie studio, and look, for all intents and purposes, they made an absolutely great game. But now their Twitter over the last 3 years, they've been hyping up the studio growth that Torn Banner has been having. We have 50 employees, we have 60 employees, up over 100 employees in the studio. Like, you love seeing the company grow this much, because that kind of leads you to believe that Chivalry 2 financially was a very good success. Now, even though Torn Banner was kind of pumping out this "we're growing the studio" stuff, they did it on the Chivalry account, they did it on the Torn Banner account, and of course Chivalry is kind of their flagship game. They weren't quite, I feel like, fully honest in that it was they're kind of disguising what was really happening, because they've been working on another game, and Torn Banner just published a zombie survival game called No More Room in Hell 2, and while they didn't start being the main devs, I think a lot of the studios switched over to help complete that game. And now, I have said this from the moment I heard about No More Room in Hell 2, saw the first video. Like, I've talked about it in my YouTube videos extensively. I've talked on my podcast about it with Scotty Games. And as soon as I heard zombie co-op game, I knew it was going to be dead on arrival. I feel like if there was any game Torn Banner Studios decided that they were going to make a zombie co-op game, sorry, it's not a survival game, co-op game, should have been at the bottom of the list. It's a very oversaturated genre with a lot of companies that do zombies pretty well, so you really got to stand out from a gameplay perspective to have any chance at success. And considering what they do best is melee combat, I feel like there were options here from extraction games, battle royale games, Chivalry 3 even, a single player RPG, something to challenge like Mountain Blade. Like, they had options of games they could make and things that they do well, but they went with zombies. And now, this game did sell, but it looks like the release went about as horribly as it could have possibly gone. Now, I have no numbers on how many copies they sold, but it's got around 7,000 reviews on Steam alone, which is actually a pretty significant number, because not many people review games on Steam. And if you look at the Steam charts, I believe their max player count was almost 15,000, which, again, that's not a bad account or a bad amount of players for a day one release. A lot of people did try out the game. But here's the problem. It seems like the game was universally regarded as trash. Like, for the first week or two, the reviews on Steam were overwhelmingly negative of people who wanted their money back. They said the game, it just didn't work. I think there was only one level of it. I never plan on playing this game, so someone can fact check me if that's incorrect, but it seemed like it was a hot mess. And you know, when you release a game in a market like that and the first impression is bad, it's not going to be good. And it's even more catastrophic than poor reviews, because the Steam charts right now, from over 15 or around 15K, they dropped off to there are 89 players playing a multiplayer co-op game right now as I'm recording this video. And look, like, you need players if it's going to be an online co-op game. It's not a single player game. People need to enjoy and play the game, and that is just catastrophic right there. That means, like, I can't even tell you what percentage of people who play the game are actually playing it now. Like, that is terrible. And I think this was a game that they wanted to support and grow for a long time and turn into a moneymaker for them, and it seems like that is not the case. So my hypothesis here, and I mean, I can't see another situation or something else that's possible, is that they were banking on this game doing well to support that studio size, and now the reality of the situation is they made a very large game that they had a lot of people work on, and they plan on having a lot of people support, and it has flopped to an extreme degree. And according to the article, which from GoGadget.com, which I have no reason to believe is not fully accurate, it wasn't just like they fired 5 people. They said it was a significant amount of the team. So it was like bodies hit the floor, like it's the red wedding of Torn Banner. Like people are dying left and right, thrown out, right, like begging for their jobs, and they're all gone on the streets. The article says all affected employees will receive severance. I mean, that's nice, right? And they get to keep their work laptops. I guess that's some consolation prize, but better to have a job. And the company's also going to work on helping people find jobs in other studios. And that's just corporate speak right there. That is such cap. They are not helping one person get a job other than maybe picking up the phone as a reference, like someone calls them to ask about a former employee and give them a good reference. They're not helping people find jobs. That's just nonsense. And while the people who watch my channel, we're not really zombie fans, right? We don't really care about No More Room in Hell 2. But I'm going to tell you guys why this is a hit to us, the medieval slasher people who've supported Torn Banner for a long time. And that's because up until this point in time, the original Chivalry, Mordhau, Chivalry 2, they were all made by very small indie development teams, like teams of under 10 people. And they made great games, but it's like, imagine what could be done if we had a AAA studio. And Torn Banner having 100+ employees working on a Chivalry 3, that in theory should have given us the closest game that we were ever going to get to a AAA slasher up until this point, right? The amount of work that 100 people can do compared to like the 4 or 5 people who worked on Mordhau, it's insane, right? You should get the best game that has ever come to the genre. And I've been hyping Chivalry 3, I've been talking about features that they can include and what I want to see in the game, and it just gave me a little bit of confidence knowing that there were going to be a lot of people working on it. And to me, now, this is a little bit of concern here because Torn Banner, obviously, their backs are going to be a little bit against the wall financially. So there's a trickle effect here. You have less people working on the game, which means you could release with a lot less quality when it comes out, less features, less map, less art, right? It's, I always say the indie developers, they have to be jacks of all trade, right? You don't get just a specialist working on just the UI. Like the game developers, they do all sorts of different things. So the quality can be a little bit more varied than you would expect having all specialists work on things. And this can also lead to situations where financials are not good, so you make a Chivalry 3 or a slasher game really quick, and then you just release it when it's not ready to release because you need money. And to me, that's another like kind of insult to us slasher players. Like the last game flopped, so we're just gonna release our crap to you guys because we know we'll buy it and we need money. And I'm not saying it's gonna be crap, but I would be a lot more confident if we had a large team working on the game. Now, while I don't necessarily think this is true, my biggest hope for this type of situation is that Torn Banner released No More Room in Hell, so maybe they didn't need all those developers right now at this time, and they're just kind of retooling things to get set up to start working from scratch on their next game, which is hopefully something in the Chivalry IP. But I feel like it's always a concern, right? Companies don't cut a ton of employees for no reason. Like, look, Ubisoft's last bunch of games dropped. They're in financial crisis, and they are axing people left and right. So it's never a good sign. And this has happened in Torn Banner before, right? They went from Chivalry to Mirage, which almost put the company, you know, completely bankrupt, to Chivalry 2, which is a success. And now it looks like we're repeating with No More Room in Hell 2, doing pretty poorly. But I want to hear from you guys. Does this concern you with Chivalry 3 coming up in the near future? Like, do you think this is now going to set the game back? Are we going to get a rushed out, buggy disaster? Or does it give you no concerns? All right, let me know. That's it for me and the news on Chivalry 2. Champ out.